Now, what made Deadpool so successful?
Well, it's a combination of things. I mean, you got a great director in Tim Miller. You have incredible writers in Rhett Reese.
I'm so bored right now, I don't even know if I'm peeing.
So, GQ Man of the Year, that's a big honor.
You know, I can't think of anyone more worthy.
Yeah, well, it's
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Hey, Jake.
I didn't see you there. What's he doing here?
No. What are you doing here?
All right, too awkward. Start the show. Start the show.
Welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so you, my friends, can watch what you want, when you want, where you want, on whatever device you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and that opening video brought to us by our very own Bryce Neshcom Castillo. I'm going to assume from the context that that Ryan Reynolds was named Man of the Year by GQ?
Yep, that was a funny little skit that they did with him being interviewed by his twin brother.
I had no idea he had a twin brother. He looks just like him.
Yeah, right?
That's really astonishing that they were able to keep that under wraps for so long.
And Jake Gyllenhaal. They actually had Jake Gyllenhaal holding a sound mic. Boom.
Oh, I assume that was just an actor.
No.
that was
Actually, it was an actor, but it was Jake Gyllenhaal's actual identical twin. That is a real thing, not a fictitious
Perfect
construct.
casting, right? Yeah. Joining us today, we're very happy to welcome back to the show Mr. Brian Dunaway of BrianDunaway.com. How are you, Brian Dunaway of BrianDunaway.com?
That is me. Say it one more time.
Brian Dunaway of BrianDunaway.com.
Thank you.
I've now said it again.
Yeah, you said it twice. You undid it. I need you to say it an odd number of times, otherwise you
want
won't
me to say
apparate.
Brian Dunaway of BrianDunaway.com.
There you go. Thank you. Good.
Perfect. Hey, I have been on since, I don't know, episode a long time ago.
Episode a long
we were
time
talking
ago.
about the new A-Team. How they changed casting from the pilot on Face.
That sounds about right.
It was a while back.
Hot damn. Gentlemen, shall we dive into the primary target?
I suppose we must.
Too late to say no. Too late to say no.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment that Brian and I have been very carefully evaluating when to call it for cable television. Cordkillers can now project that cord cutting will take the state of television watching in the world. Pay TV lost 486,000 customers in Q3, down 1.4%. Moffett-Nathanson says that that's about the same as it was last year. Last year in Q3, they lost 432,000. So it's not the housing market anymore. It's not a temporary blip. It is a continuous loss of subscribers. Now, these numbers do not include things like Sling TV. Sling TV apparently added 204,000 subscribers in the quarter, so that would prop these numbers back up if they counted that. And BTIG analysts estimate that the 8 biggest providers now only make up 88.2 million viewers in the United States. That's down 926,000. Moffett-Nathanson estimates that if you throw in all the smaller providers, the little apartment complex ones, the mom and pops, then you get 96.8 million total. Telecoms lost at a rate of 11.7%, although they mostly lost their subscriptions to other providers. So that's AT&T, Verizon, and Fios losing to Comcast and Spectrum. And here's the weird thing, Brian. Average revenue per user didn't drop, which you would expect to see drop if these companies were propping up the numbers by saying, we'll just throw in a free cable if you keep our triple play bundle.
Tom, you know me as a fairly hardened skeptic, right?
I do. You're a man who is not easily swayed to believe things.
Right. Well, especially the supernatural. However, and I know you probably put this in the doc before I went to bed last night, but I need you to believe me when I say I did not read this story until this morning, because last night I had a cord cutting related dream. This is no BS. This is a real thing that happened. I dreamt I was at a carnival sideshow trade fair, like a trade show. And if you've ever been to a trade show, you know that you have to pay for things like electricity or whatever. And I got to our booth to sell whatever it was in my weird dream, and we needed internet. So they sent over a union rep, it was like, well, let me get you internet or whatever. And I know it's going to sound like I made all this up. I pinky swear. And you guys know I don't mess around with the pinky swear. In my dream, dude comes over, starts mucking around. I'm not paying attention. I turn back and he's like, all right, I got you all set up. And I see, and I'm like, what is that? and I'm looking at a landline telephone that he installed. And he's like, oh, well, I'm going to save you a little bit of money. And then I cut him off. And I was like, stop talking. Yeah, you're going to triple play me, aren't you? And he's like, well, it's like you'll save a lot of money if we bundle this internet.
So wait a minute, you're at a trade show,
yes,
like a consumer electronics show,
yes.
except it's not, right?
Yes,
it's a different thing. But this is a booth where you've just contracted, like, hey, I need somebody to run a wire.
Yes,
and he's trying to sell you a triple play bundle.
yes, that actually happened in my dream, and as you can imagine, I got very indignant and it got very weird. Whatever, dreams are dumb. Look, hey man, this is fantastic news. This is nothing but a. It's a final death knell in the coffin of death.
Yeah, if you want to look at it in a morbid way, I don't know. I mean, is it a death knell or is it a bleed out? Because you still got 88.2 million at the big 8.
Yeah,
and you are not gaining anymore. What with the page we have turned here is for years cable companies have been coming up. Well, the reason the numbers are off this month is because of this and that. Now. Yeah, Comcast actually added subscribers in this quarter, but they're bucking the trend.
So let's see, Bryce, while we discuss this, let's see if you're able to, if you can, track down. I would love to know what the height of cable subscriptions was. I have to imagine at some point it was a lot more than 88 million. We have to, so part of what we're seeing is a recategorization of, if somebody subscribes to PlayStation Vue or Sling TV, technically they cut the cord and they're not getting cable television, even though I think you could make a legitimate case for saying they're still watching cable TV. It's just delivered over, fiber optics, or wireless instead of, traditional cable, right?
Yeah, well, that's the question, right? Is what is it that we actually want here? Is it that we want the cable industry to die? Is it that we want more competition and the internet allows that because more people can get into the game because they don't have to run the cables themselves? Or is it that we just want choice at a cheaper price and we want to be able to pick and choose what we want? Brian Dunaway, as someone who is in the market and watches television but doesn't want to have to pay a bunch for it, what's most important to you?
Absolutely. It's pick what I want when I want it. That is what cord cutting is all about to me. It doesn't matter if it comes in. Really, technically, I guess I'd be okay with a stupid cable coming in my house. But I really just want to be able to pick my own programming. And classically, these guys, the big guys, they would never give me any choices. And now I have lots of choices, and I can choose to subscribe and quit at my whim. If I want Sling TV this week, then I can get it and watch it for a month. And if I feel all used up, I'll just not renew it next month.
I think that's the craziest thing, Brian, is both Brian's, is that this is happening with two minor players, PlayStation Vue and Sling TV in the United States, right, and Netflix and Hulu, which are a la carte options that you don't have to cut cable to make use of. And we're about to get Google, Hulu, and AT&T with their DirecTV entering the market in the next 6 months, probably.
With non-cable alternatives to get to the same programming that you already love.
And so suddenly you're going to go from, I have 3 choices in most markets in the U.S. I've got my local cable company and a couple of satellite companies. Maybe I have 4 if I'm lucky enough to live in a place where Verizon or AT&T is offering service for television as well. Now I'm going to go to add PlayStation Vue, Sling TV, Hulu, Google, DirecTV Now. I'm going to have 9 options. I'm going to have way more options than possible. That's really going to affect this number.
So I think that we had a weird mushy period over the last 5 years as we saw the trend of cable adoption level off, and now the question is, well, is it leveled off or is it plummeting? I think this is long enough now that we can declare it's definitely plummeting. However, there's a number of ways to mask the speed at which people are cutting the cord. One of which is, of course, to offer triple play bundles, offer local cable, even super skinny bundles where it's like, hey, you don't even have to use it. We'll cut the price of your internet if you'll just you'll just call yourself a cable subscriber just to save our numbers. We've already been seeing that for over a year now. And so now we're at the point where I think it's safe to say that it's even more dire than it looks like by the numbers.
Well, I would expect average revenue per user to be dropping more if that was having a large effect on this. But even so, to look at 500,000 approximately, just under 500,000 customers decline as normal, that says it all to me. This is no longer a blip. It's no longer a leveling. Maybe it's not even a plummet. Maybe it's a decline or a recline. But cable TV is lying down, is what I'm trying to say.
You're calling it the recline of cable television. The long heralded recline has come. I like that.
It's just laying back and waiting for, and one of the reasons Comcast actually was able to add numbers is not even just that they do the skinny bundles, but they also have, in only a few markets, obviously, the ability to get an over-the-top bundle with your Comcast internet service where you don't need cable. You don't need to have the box or anything.
Yeah, I honestly don't mind. So one of the discussions is, hey, let's stop calling them virtual MVPDs. They're actual MVPDs. And I think they're right to do so. So even if you want to be generous and say that this decline is not 500,000, but only 250,000, doesn't change the trends. In general, the only people who aren't leaping at this opportunity are people who aren't taking advantage or are familiar with the alternatives that you can get for over the internet thing. And by the way, it's with no small amount of affection that Tom and I assume you as well, Brian, speak of the days of cable television, because in a pre-internet era, that was the way that you felt connected to the rest of the world. It was live, it was up to the minute. It was this massive fire hose of all these different channels, all of which, giving you real content. And, if you were an adult, on 9/11, you didn't get on the internet to find out what was happening. You turned on the television, and that was your connection to the rest of humanity. But I think we're definitely at a point where that's an outdated model, and we're just seeing everything else change.
I recently was at my mother's house, and she had on the cable TV, and I was beginning to wonder if she was watching a channel that was just all commercials. I mean, I was beginning to wonder if there was any content at all other than commercials.
Well, and so like, well, was
and
it like?
It turned out it was QVC. No.
Right. I was beginning to think, because I'm like, okay, I've already sit through like 15 minutes worth of commercials here. Surely there's going to be some kind of content here in a minute.
Especially
or is this the content?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where it feels a little bit weird, Tom, that like we've spent so much time raging and shaking our fists at, the sky, and now it's happening. And I'm just like, now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, cable, you sure were adorable.
Brian always has sympathy for his foes. Defeats them.
Only my vanquished foes. Only once they're vanquished.
I've never looked at cable as a foe. I've looked at it as a bully. And to me, I don't care if it dies. All I want is to be able, as a consumer, to do the things that I want to do with television. And I think as we turn this corner, the really interesting question is, okay, let's get to that world where Comcast or Spectrum is just one amongst the 9 choices I have. I've got Hulu's new service. I've got YouTube's. I've got PlayStation View, etc. Who will choose those and say, yes, I would like Sling TV to replace my cable because it gives me more control over what I want. It's easier to cancel. I don't have to rent a cable box. And who will say, no, you're not getting it. And when I say who, how many will say, I don't want any of those. I don't want to buy a package of channels anymore. I'm just going to watch Netflix and Hulu and Crunchyroll and the things that I want to watch. I'm going to watch YouTube. I don't want your channels at all.
Yeah, real quick, Bryce, were you able to get any kind of estimate?
I mean, there's an FCC number here that from 2015 when we had a full year of decline from 101 million to 100 million.
Oh, wow. And now we're down to 88 million.
So, and I don't know if that necessarily includes all sorts of cable, all sorts of satellite, but that is a number that I found.
Sure.
Yeah, it was definitely above 100 million when I worked at Tech TV, because that was the percentage that we would always try to take to figure out how many homes we were actually in.
In fact, I think we probably ran something about this in 2015 when this article came out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, exciting, strange, wonderful, scary times for cable companies.
Yeah.
See you, cable
Awesome
TV.
times for us.
Enjoy your recline.
Enjoy the recline.
Take a load off, cable. You deserve it. You know what is also deserved? Our appreciation for your support, because you guys are the best. You make it possible for us to do this show by just kicking us like $1 an episode.
Yeah, man, I forgot to tell you about my other dream. This one didn't happen last night. This one happened when I was like in 8th grade. I dreamt that one day I would be freed from the gatekeepers of traditional cable-run media, and that we'd be able to talk about what we want when we wanted on whatever platform we felt like, and that 1,793 patrons would come together donating just less than $1 an episode. By the way, if you're under $1 an episode, consider maybe a bit more. And that we would be able to do this amazing show and make it our full-time jobs. That there would be dream makers that would make our lives a wonderful, better place, and that the future. I would also know that the winning lottery numbers were. I forget that part.
What were they?
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone.
I mean, I was gonna say, like, if everyone shares those, then they could split it up and share it on Patreon.
Yeah, no, I might remember if we
Cordkillers.
get a few more people going to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
All right. Yeah. If you want those lottery numbers and the rest of this show, head to patreon.com/Cordkillers. Those of you who already support us on Cordkillers, thank you very much. You get to enjoy How to Watch. Oh, what the heck. We'll let everybody watch. Sony announced Tuesday it's going to drop all Viacom-owned channels from its PlayStation Vue service starting last Friday, November 11th. Yes, that's right. PlayStation Vue is all grown up and having real cable company problems with the distributor. That includes channels like Comedy Central, Spike, MTV. If you watch shows on that, you can't get them on PlayStation Vue anymore. Sony did announce the addition of BBC America and NBA TV and said they've got a deal to bring Vice and that channel to PlayStation Vue as well. And they also opened a few more local markets. They have to do individual deals with all the local stations. So not every local market in the U.S. has local channels, which means you can't always get CBS and Fox live. You can only get it on demand, but now they've got more markets. PlayStation wrote on their blog, as part of our ongoing evaluation of the PlayStation Vue offering, we have determined that removing the bundle of channels from Viacom is the best way for us to continue to offer the most compelling value to our customers.
That's a way to put it. Another way to put it would be the way Scott wrote us, saying, today is a dark day. And no, I'm not referring to the election results. Vue adds BBC America, yay, and NBA TV, yawn, and announced they are removing 20-some-odd Viacom channels, including Nick, Comedy Central, and many more. Thanks for refusing to pay an arm and a leg and the carriage fees under the guise of protecting me, but you're keeping the difference. Hey, Sony, leave the channels or lower the price. So now in Miami, I could give up my DVR and half my locals and go to Sling, or wait for DirecTV Now and give up different locals. No word if there's anything DVR. Oh, and if you like NBC on your TV, too bad, suckers. Or maybe I could wait and see what comprises these dinosaurs, or what compromises these dinosaurs face on Hulu, or what they force on Hulu, Google, and maybe one day Apple service. Why can't I have been born a millennial? Then I wouldn't care about these legacy networks and the shows I like on them. Instead, I'm the last generation that needs my must-see TV. Another plus millennial me would have had. I wouldn't have to be. Another plus millennial me would have. I wouldn't have to be 40. Long email short. One day we'll give up linear TV in my house. Every year there's more on Netflix, Hulu, and Prime. Soon I'll choose to live without cable network, or without network and cable shows, or just buy them. Hey man, look, that day could be today. Just decide you're gonna. If it matters, you're gonna buy it. And in fact, here's my missive to all of you. All of you right now are wrestling with this. Here's all you have to do. If it's truly a good show, it's probably worth $1. That's it. That's it. If your time is valuable, and you can decide to give $100 and hope that the cable networks are going to give you 100 good shows over a month at a time. So, and by the way, Neshcom points out, $1.99, $2.99.
Yeah,
okay, but I mean, if you're comfortable with standard definition, sure, you can get it less. But my point is, it's the same amount of money. Just decide that if you truly care about it, you probably care about it to the tune of over $1.99.
Right.
Brian, Dunaway, how do you feel?
I agree with that. I want to tell the people I'm agreeing with what Brian here says. If you want it, you like it, you pay for it. It's easy. We get to choose what we want to watch now, and we get to choose not how much we pay for it, but in some degree, we have some power there. But I'm just going to tell everybody, just don't get comfortable. I mean, we got 3 new players coming in, and all these guys are trying to renegotiate stuff, and Viacom has just classically been a jerk. I mean, with Dish, DirecTV, they've played this game many times before.
Well, that's what's one of the interesting things about this story is we see Viacom not having a carriage dispute, not like they did with Dish, disappearing for a short period of time or having warnings run on the channels by the cable company. PlayStation Vue just up and removed them. Said, no, we're not playing a game. We're not going to pay you anymore. Done. That's it. Goodbye.
Which is a shame because I love Nick. Nickelodeon is awesome.
Oh, sure. Look, there's a lot to totally love about that. By the way, Beatmaster has a legitimate question in the chat room. He says, wouldn't doing so raise the barrier of being discovered in the first place for new shows? Yes and no. It depends. It certainly would raise a barrier if you're accustomed to discovering all your shows based on, well, I like CNBC and what do they got this week? Oh, The Prophet. Then that will happen less. But in the meantime, platforms like Reddit make discoverability universal and free and utterly tailored to you individually, with giving you complete control and people you trust more influence over your life. It diversifies, it changes discoverability, but it doesn't reduce it in any way that I can.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that the networks fought so much to be allowed to put their brands on Netflix shows. And are still trying to get Netflix to allow them to do promos, which they haven't. But when you buy a show, you always get a promo. And some people, I know some of you kvetch and say, they're running commercials. What they're doing is saying, hey, before you watch the episode of the show we know you like, let's show you a little bit of another show we do that maybe you'll also like. And that's how another avenue to discoverability there.
And you're seeing that in, I get a number of people saying, hey, I'm starting a podcast. How do you build an audience for a podcast? And the answer is like, well, picture your perfect audience. What are they already listening to? Try to be on those podcasts. Go be good. Be the best part of that show that they hear, and then remind people that you exist in your own podcast. That doesn't change. That continues.
Now, getting back to PlayStation Vue and Viacom, it is a bit of a risky move. This is the right time to do it because your only alternative is Sling, and Sling doesn't have a cloud DVR. So a lot of people who like PlayStation Vue are just going to suck it up and say, fine, I'll pay for those 1 or 2 shows on Viacom networks that I love. I'll watch them the next day. I guess I won't be able to watch them along with all of my friends, but fine. That's what I'll do because I don't want to switch somewhere else. Once there is more competition and we have DirecTV Now launched and we have the potential YouTube and Hulu services, then it's going to be a problem if they have Viacom and Sony doesn't. So I feel like this might be a short-term thing where Sony's playing some hardball while they can to get a better deal.
Yeah. In which case, good. I'd like to see more of the. I would like to. Everything moved really, really slow in the cable days, and you had these weird face-offs that mainly just confused consumers. Like I was like, why is Time Warner running a snarky ad about how NBC is a bunch of jerks? It didn't change anything on my part. It was just, I don't know. I just felt like I was a spectator to a war that I had no interest in. Mm-hmm. The fact that Sling's saying, no, we're not playing that. You don't want it. These terms are unfavorable. We'll figure out another way. Bye.
Yeah, or Sony, but yes, absolutely. All right, let's talk about what we're watching in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location.
Under Surveillance.
HBO has renewed Westworld, Insecure, and Divorce for second seasons. After the Westworld season ends, comes The Young Pope and Big Little Lies, followed by a David Simon period piece called The Deuce, and the final season of a little show, well, first of 2 final seasons, called Game of Thrones. What we haven't got renewals on yet, Brian, is The Night Of or True Detective. They haven't canceled either. They're saying, well, they're still kicking around ideas for their next season, and when they get one, I'm sure we'll be able to set them up for another one.
I can't speak to the night of, but given the fairly lackluster critical and popular reception for True Detective Season 2, which again, I think there's some really great ideas in there. There's a lot of imagery. There was a lot I liked. I feel like they just tried to double the amount of awesome characters to 4 and then got it awfully crowded. I think what they're looking for is we need something truly great if we're going to do a 3rd season of True Detective. And there's probably a lot of really good ideas, like significantly better than Season 2 ideas and concepts, but maybe they don't have the right names attached to them. Maybe they don't have, I mean, it's like the business is so nutty. It has to be picture it's a nuclear device and you got all these people with the keys, and at any time 2 of the 3 keys are ready to pull, but it's like, nah, I'm not feeling it. And then finally, if you see it, believe it's coming with a vengeance.
Yeah. What do you watch these shows, Mr. Dunaway?
I do watch a few of those. Westworld, I was actually going to wait until the season was over, and I'll get into the reason why in just a minute when we talk about what I'm watching. Because once it's done, I can plug back up my HBO for a month or so and get called up and do that thing. On the topic of True Detective, I don't think there's really any big hurry there because you don't really have a set of actors that you're waiting around for to make sure that you don't lose them or anything. So it's really all about the idea. So they have time.
Oh, that's interesting. Basically take on the Dan Carlin hardcore history model where it's just like, hey man, you get True Detective when the muse hits us. Right now, the muse isn't hitting us, but maybe 2 years from now, out of nowhere, True Detective Season 3. That would be amazing, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, especially if it delivers. And if it's like, oh, remember those problems we had with Season 2? Well, because we took our time, we don't have those problems this time. At least that, that's the hope.
Good stuff.
All right, let's start talking about what we've been watching ourselves. Mr. Dunaway, you just alluded to that. What have you been watching?
Well, hey, I am one of those old dudes who's been around for a while, watched cable TV growing up, also mostly network TV stuff. So the fall season is upon us, and that means lots of must-see comedy TV. So I'm checking out a lot of this stuff on Hulu, but I'm watching stuff like Superstore. I think it's the NBC show, Blackish, The Middle, and Goldbergs. So just catch up on those. There's a lot to do during this time of year for me. Holidays are coming up. And so I like these little bite-sized 30-minute sitcoms because I can just run in. We can watch 1 or we can watch 4, and we're just out.
They are big dedication, aren't they?
Yeah,
I've been kind of watching Last Man on Earth that way, where I don't try to keep up, but when I find myself with a little extra time, but not enough to invest in these hour-long shows, it's like, 30 minutes, 25 minutes, great.
It's delicious little bite-sized morsels of entertainment. Plus, there's so many holiday shows on right now, too. All the way leading up to about a week before Halloween happens, I watch a lot of holiday specials all the way into Thanksgiving and then Christmas. And I watch a lot of junk, really, during this time of the year. Just a lot of crap. Bar is really low.
Keep the cognitive load down.
Right.
What about, did you go check out the Doctor Strange?
I did. I went and saw the Doctor Strange. Got my IMAX tickets and headed out and watched Doctor Strange, and I was blown away.
So
I'd like to go back and see it again.
In IMAX, is it the supersized 4x3, or is it widescreen 16:9?
Right.
Or?
It's kind of the supersized 4x3. It's a little bit more square than you're used to.
Huh. But you did not go 3D.
I did go 3D.
Oh, you did. So you did IMAX 3D, which is
IMAX 3D. Right.
That's. I'll tell you what, man. I watched Doctor Strange a second time, and it's the first time I've done 3D. I don't know, in over a year, and it is a sad moment. You're sitting there watching all the trailers, all the previews. Are like, oh, this is so much fun, and then you put on sunglasses, and it's so dark, and it's like it takes a few minutes, and eventually the spell of the movie works its way over you. But it's like. That's a real problem when what should be the happiest moment is the one that makes you feel like, ugh. All right, I guess it's dark.
Now, did you see it the IMAX as well?
No, I saw it at the Alamo Drafthouse, which has in general pretty good presentation quality, but people act as though IMAX is magically orders of magnitude brighter, but that's hard for me to really buy.
I think they do. Well, I think the projectors are set up that way, so it's a little bit brighter. You lose half the brightness when you're in 3D because of the way it's overlaid. But yeah, the IMAX seems to not suffer as much from that drop in lighting, at least.
I mean, okay,
my-
look, even if they're right, you know what the Alamo Drafthouse has? Beer.
It's beautiful.
They have beer.
Beer.
And then
My
that,
IMAX
What
has-
self-respecting
my IMAX
movie
has-
theater doesn't have beer anymore? That's the new wave. Like those movie theaters I go to that don't have beer, even in the lobby, I feel like I'm in a retro situation. Like all the theaters I go to regularly have beer now.
Hey, by the way, if you want something that will improve your experience of watching Doctor Strange even better than 3D, I recommend going with a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old little girl who have never experienced a medical drama before. That whole first act, I think this is the second time. I already know what's happening in the movie, but watching it sitting there next to my children who have never watched somebody, you know, whose face is all puffed up and destroyed and he's struggling to open his hands and they're all scarred and broken and his life is ruined. Like all of a sudden I saw it through their eyes and I'm like, wow, this is high stakes stuff. This guy's broken. He's got nothing. And then there's a great moment. I guess it's all spoilers. But Josie asked, you know, does anybody die? And I was like, no, just bad guys. And then halfway through, I was like, oh wait, well,
Except for that guy.
this major character dies. And then later, I'm like, oh, this super major character dies a lot.
Ish.
You're about to watch this person die a lot.
Really, really hard. Yeah.
Anyway, it was amazing watching it again. I think I enjoyed it. I actually cried twice during it, but just
The
being
second
there with the yeah. Even though I knew what was coming, just being there with the kids, seeing it, you know, through the kids' eyes, really made a difference.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. I went with a 9-year-old, but she didn't cry. She just said, "Yeah, take that."
We'll talk about Westworld and Justified and the movie Arrival, which Brian and I both saw. Anything else, Mr. Brushwood?
Yeah, no, I watched another episode of Glitch. I got to watch those last 3 and get it all caught up. But this afternoon, Bonnie, I guess, was talking to Josie about the movie Big with Tom Hanks back in the day. And so I went to, can I stream it? And it, you know, wasn't available or whatever. I'm like, well, I'll go to Amazon. I'll just buy it. And it said, hey, you could buy Big right now, $3.99, or who wants to watch Big for free right now? Just click a button that says, okay, 7-day trial. And I was like, ooh, I know how these trials work. You press them and then you forget to unpress them. Totally pressed them. I totally pressed it. We totally watched on Stars. We watched Big for freezies. And I'm totally sure, Tom, I'll remember to unsubscribe by next week. I don't think they'll get me.
Stars doesn't make you give a credit card, so I think it just cancels it to 7 days. Or did you put the credit card in?
Well, Amazon already knows
it's
my
Amazon.
credit
Amazon
card.
has his payment information.
Yeah, see, this
Believe you
is
me.
the genius, right? Where it's just like
You know you can cancel that minute, right? You subscribe.
yeah, but
Most
I
of these
mean,
trials
we
you
watched
cancel.
the
you already
movie,
watched
but
the
but
movie.
Penny didn't see it, and so
Right,
like,
and then you had to
we're
go
just
to
gonna hang out
Cordkillers.
just a
You
little bit
can't-
longer.
But
There
you
might be
cancel the-
another movie while you've got it for free.
Well,
that's
I mean,
available
yeah,
now.
I mean, because it's not the only movie from my childhood that I want to show my kids. I'm betting
Sure.
they've got some more.
So
So-
most of those will allow you to cancel right then, but you still get the 7-day trial. You just tell it to cancel the recurring payment. Stars does that.
I don't know. Well, okay. Well,
Brian's going to do that as soon as Spoiler in Time is over
that's
today.
right. I'm sure I'll do it. I'm sure
we check in-
I'll do it.
On next week's episode of Cordkillers,
It was super
I'm
easy. I just
100% certain.
I
that
just
Brian will
typed
have
in
canceled Stars.
cancel stars, and it brought me right to the link. I didn't click it because I want Penny to see, that one movie.
Right.
It'll be
Yeah.
fine. It'll be fine.
Absolutely. Mr. Bryce Castillo, what have you been on the lookout for?
Hey guys, we got a letter from Dave. He sent us a trio of shows of Amazon, and I figured we hadn't done Amazon stuff in a minute, so we should go through all 3 of these real fast. The first one he mentions is The Night Manager. This is a miniseries based on a book by John Le Carre. He says it's a strong drama, well cast, and simply excellent. It's about a hotelier working as a night manager who gets swept up in the world of mirrors, aka espionage. He also sends along Goliath, an Amazon original. and Every But the Equal of Bosch in Story Arc, which I think is a BBC detective show, I want to say. He said the casting, the cinematography, the locations, and all are a tour de force, as well as Billy Bob Thornton and William Hurt, who are starring in it, both of whom totally occupy their characters. It's just excellent and totally binge-worthy. He also recommends Citizen 4, which is available on Prime now. The movie, this is the 2014 documentary on Edward Snowden, take two. Very well done, and it's a compelling view, and I think there's like a lot of critical acclaim for it. So
I will so vouch for Citizen 4. Like
yeah?
like everything is colored by the knowledge of like this is the actual raw footage of a real life revolution happening. I mean, it's extraordinary.
yeah. So thank you again, Dave, for sending that in. You can find all of these on Amazon Prime Video for free with subscription. You know what I mean. It's a Prime thing.
Included
And in
Prime.
fact, Bosch is an Amazon Prime original as well that you can get on
cool.
Amazon.
Very cool.
So there you go. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. And now Brian Brushwood tells you how you can become the modern rogue.
Oh man, can I just say for the record, like I'm so happy to see the Modern Rogue YouTube channel. This is our new series. If you enjoyed Hacking the System, it's me and Jason Murphy. If you go to youtube.com/modernrogue, you can see we're still killing it. We learned how to throw knives and how to calculate the distance so that the pointy end is the one that hits the target. It's great, man. We are now just under 2 months in, and we have nearly 50,000 subscribers. We're already halfway to a silver play button, and it's just going to get better and better. The stuff we have on tap is amazing. I don't want to ruin anything, but we may be making prison wine, aka Pruno. We may be making we may be learning how to hold our breath for superhuman amounts of time. We may be learning how to double our chest muscles in 2 weeks. It's crazy. It's awesome. Please do me a favor. Tell all your friends. Check out the Modern Rogue.
And after you do that, enjoy the front lines.
Hey there, Cordkillers, your old pal.
Get out of here.
That was last week, Ayaz.
That was amazing. That looks like you blew up Ayaz. Like Ayaz tried to show up, and you're just like, no.
By the way, if you're an Ayaz fan and we know you're out there, that's from last week's episode. So if you missed last week's episode, go watch that. You get plenty of it. A TiVo study found that 80% of all broadcast TV viewing takes place live. That's right. 80% of all broadcast TV viewing takes place live. 18% of viewing is time shifted, like on a DVR, up to 3 days, and only 2% of television viewing is time shifted 4 to 7 days. On cable, 91% of viewing happens live. Primetime broadcast shows are recorded more often. 23% of them are recorded, not watched live, in the 3-day window for broadcast and cable. Cable is recorded less often, only 11%. So I said that wrong just now. Broadcast primetime, people record. Cable primetime, people tend to watch live. Exceptions exist, network by network, especially among younger audiences. The CW, for instance, is only viewed live 56% of the time. So it's the olds who are watching live.
I 100% believe all of this. I would love to know from our audience mainly. Write us at cordkillers@gmail.com. But Tom, Brian, do you guys tend to turn on TV and just whatever happens to be on you're watching? Or I used to be that way as a kid, but the internet has supplanted that need to feel connected to what's going on.
Never do that anymore. I can't think of the last time I just turned the TV on. Only time I do that is if sports day, Sunday.
Sure.
When NFL's doing their thing. What's on? I don't know. Let's see.
I was telling Tom the last time I did it was when Steve Jobs passed away, and it's like just being in a hotel room. I was like, I want to hear literally anyone talk about their feelings about this, and so I turned it on and felt connected in that moment. Tom, what about you?
Well, yeah, I think about it mostly in hotels where I used to get into a hotel room. If I didn't have anywhere to go, plop down on the bed, turn on the TV. And I don't do that. There are plenty of hotel stays where I get to the end of my stay and I realize I never touched the remote. It's still sitting exactly where it was when I checked in because I've got my phone. I use my phone for that stuff. And I think the same thing happens at home. I don't turn on the TV. I turn to Twitter. I turn to Feedly. I look at the web. I don't watch television. When I do want to just turn on the TV, and I do occasionally have that impulse, I look for something. I look for like, oh, is there an unusual sporting event that would be fun to have on in the background? And we talk about that mostly on the weekends. Right. But it's not a default operation. Like my next door neighbor, she's in her 80s, and she's just got the television on the way we're talking about. She's definitely making up that 90% of the time she's just got the TV on, watching whatever's on.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the FCC's Wireless Bureau sent a letter to AT&T outlining concerns about the company's practice of not counting DirecTV video against customer data caps. AT&T allows any video service to exempt its data from AT&T customer caps for a fee. The FCC said the practice, quote, may obstruct competition and harm consumers. AT&T says DirecTV pays for the right to exempt customers from caps just like any non-AT&T owned business would. Friday, AT&T announced that its Stream Saver program will reduce customers' video streams to standard definition starting in early 2017 to help save data costs. It should be noted that it will do it by default, but it is still something you could flip a switch and turn back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not like T-Mobile where they reduce it to 480 and it doesn't count. It still counts against your data cap. They're just doing it so obviously it's not using as much data out of your data cap. And of course, once DirecTV Now launches, they have said they will make DirecTV Now not count against your data cap. And that is something they say DirecTV Now pays for. Dunaway, does it bother you that, well, yeah, you're paying for it, DirecTV, but you're paying yourself because you're owned by AT&T?
Right. It feels a little bit deceitful is what it feels like to me. I don't like it. So what you going to do?
I don't think you're wrong, but it's like I honestly, and I've said this before, I feel like data caps are going to go away as it becomes increasingly clear, as technology advances, it's going to be raining soup. And the idea of data caps is already, I'm running across it less and less, and it sounds like other people are as well. But having said that, I think I totally agree with this decision that it's like, well, just our clubhouse, on my left hand is paying my right hand the proper fee in order to create synergy within this empire that we own. And yeah, no, I agree that could be anti-competitive.
I mean, Comcast is adding more data caps to its markets right now as a way to charge people. It's a monetization scheme, and there is no technological reason for it. But they're alone. Time Warner has sort of fallen off of that since they got acquired by Charter, and now they're Spectrum. And I don't see a ton of other data caps outside of mobile. On the other hand, mobile data caps aren't going away anytime soon. So I could see AT&T wanting to make hay while the sun's shining here.
Yeah.
Or possibly zero rate their data caps. I don't know why they would get into hay. They don't feed any livestock. That's Not Funny reported last week on leaked images of a new TiVo model called Maverick, spelled Mavrik. The device includes the ability to record over-the-air television to cloud storage for streaming from TiVo apps. And we've seen tons of things like the Simple TV did this, Tableau did this. Details on storage options, cost, and release date have not been discovered yet, and TiVo hasn't actually made an official announcement about it. But Brian, this is TiVo's Aereo. They're basically saying, you provide the antenna, this box will be your Aereo device.
Yeah, so basically you buy a gizmo, you provide your own antenna. Everything else is straight up Aereo, right? All the cloud storage,
we're going to host all of the recordings and everything in the cloud. Yeah.
Right, and specifically TiVo bought all of the assets of Aereo, right? So they have the IP. So this is probably the DNA of the Aereo alive and well in the Maverick.
Is it? I mean, do you use an antenna, Dunaway?
I have not used an antenna in a while, but I've been tempted to, especially when sports season comes around. It's like it's time to put up the antenna. But no, I'm too lazy.
All right, Tom, I've got a question for you. This one had me scratching my head. It says here, Disney reported that revenue from its cable networks fell 6.8% last quarter to $3.96 billion. Analysts had expected $4.13 billion. For comparison, Disney's movie business rose 1.7% to $1.81 billion. So this is revenue from its cable networks. Meanwhile, my kids are watching as much Disney Channel programming as ever, but but they're watching it on Netflix. They're not watching it in traditional cable. Is it that they're not getting paid enough from these alternate forms of distribution?
When you say Disney programming, you mean ESPN, right? Because that's the most valuable Disney programming there is.
Oh, no, I meant Disney Channel.
Right. And actually, the fact that your kids are watching it on Netflix could be contributing to this.
This definitely sounds like, now that you say ESPN, that's sort of like, ESPN is getting hit hard by the trend of cord cutting because, as we've talked about before, of your $100 a month average cable bill, $35 of that is all just free subsidies to ESPN. If you don't watch ESPN, then you're paying $35 a month so someone else can.
I'm not sure about that 35 number a month, but poetically, it's right. You're paying a lot for ESPN whether you watch it or not.
Pretty sure it is $35. I'll see if I can
feel like
find
it
that.
Was close to 20, maybe.
Let's see.
But it doesn't really matter, honestly, because you're paying a lot. You're paying more for it than you would if you wanted to subscribe a la carte. And a lot of you are paying more than you would because you would never subscribe to it. And the key here is we've been hearing these disputes, right? Nielsen says you lost 600,000 subscribers, ESPN. ESPN says, check your math. Nielsen checks its math. Like, no, we show 600. ESPN says that's not what we show. But then the earnings show that cable networks, and granted, they didn't break out ESPN in this number, is down. ESPN is the lion's share of Disney's revenue. If Disney's cable network's revenue is down, it is down because of ESPN.
Real quick, just to clarify, ESPN is only like $5 itself. It was a study we had reported on a long time ago that said, and again, even 35 might be too much, but it was all of sports combined. If you're not into sports, this is how much of your $100 cable bill is going to sports.
But whatever that number actually is, it's a number that ESPN is bringing in fewer times to fewer people.
Oh, sure.
Pay.
Yeah. No, they definitely wish that number was bigger.
Yeah. Vudu updated its Android and iOS apps with the ability to download rented movies for mobile. Vudu also announced support for movie extras, and iOS users get 1080p and AirPlay functions. You can also buy DVDs and Blu-ray discs from within the Vudu app because, hey, they're owned by Walmart. Why not? They already got the back end for it. Just stick a link in there, I guess.
Sure. Seems legit to me, man. Shall we move on to dispatches from the front? Apparently we are, whether you want to or not. So Amar writes us saying, I'm in my 11th grade year and we're doing a college tour. I saw one of the students watching a show on their laptop and it got me to thinking, if I use the same family account that I use now on Netflix when I go to college, is it illegal? My family won't be giving me the password at that point. And at the time they gave me the password, it was totally legal for them to do so. I thought the FCC ruling specifically mentions sharing passwords, not using the account.
Amar, I'm assuming when you say FCC ruling, you're talking about a court case. There was no FCC ruling on this, but there was a court case applying to a business contractor who used the password of another employee's account without the company's authorization. So legally speaking, that court case only applies to that situation. So there is no ruling about what you're suggesting, which is continuing to use your Netflix account. Now, granted, even if that court case were used as a precedent, what they said was knowingly and with intent to defraud, access a protected computer without authorization is what the problem was. You'd have to go a long way to show that a kid in college using his parents' Netflix account that he had been given when he lived with his parents was an intent to defraud. Well, and frankly, Netflix has said themselves, we're fine. We're fine with this. We're not really going to go.
Well, because keep in mind, Netflix keeps track of how many concurrent users there are. In my household, we're bumping up against the 2 concurrent users max because, maybe my 12-year-old, maybe my 9-year-old are using it at the same time, and then I can't get on, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll watch some Amazon stuff or whatever. But let's say, even if all of it was deliberately a violation, let's be careful about the word illegal because illegal often means criminal. It would be a violation of the terms of service. And if Netflix so chose, they could say, you have violated our agreement, and as such, we are ending our agreement, and we will no longer deliver programming, and you can keep your $9.99 a month or whatever.
Which is why this court case got so much attention, because people said, well, if this court took their reasoning about passwords and applied it to Netflix, that could be considered violating the terms of service, accessing a computer without authorization, which is a violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. It's a problem with the way the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act is written. It rarely gets applied in that way.
Right. Moving right along to Brian and Tom. After listening to you talking about Sling TV nearly every episode, thought I'd try it out this week for a 1-week trial. I only have DSL with an average of 5 megabits down, but it worked great so far on my cell phone, tablets, desktop, and Roku. No hiccups. I've mainly binged on ESPN, CNN, and AMC. I have got the orange bundle. The other channels are in my opinion, the usual crap you get in cable. Well, welcome to cable. It's weird seeing all the commercials. I cut the cord 7 years ago. I'm used to the commercial-free VOD services. You and me both, man. I believe I'll keep Sling TV until the football season is over. I did miss ESPN the last 7 years. FYI, from a Cordkillers fan, thank you so much, Mike Kepper.
Hey, thank you, Mike Kepper. Dunaway, have you played around with this at all?
Sling TV, absolutely. I love Sling TV. Not currently subscribed to it, though, so must not love it too terribly much. Yeah, I like it.
Not me. Had
Don't
nothing
like
but
it
misery.
Because I'm with you with the too many commercials things. But I was mostly watching the El Rey network, which doesn't have as many commercials because they have a lot of older content, and it's kind of geared towards me, where it's like Commando or something from the 80s, and then they have a lot of these Alamo Drafthouse kind of moments in between where they talk about the movie, and it's just that was mainly the reason why I had Sling. Really, was the El Rey network.
Yeah,
can't say much about it.
I'm gonna I don't know. I'll probably jump over to PlayStation Vue for a bit, but Sling hit me on two fronts. One was not their fault in terms of AMC's being a stodgy old coot and saying no DVR action on there. You have to watch, by appointment viewing and sit through the commercials. But the other half was their fault. The glitches, the shutting down the stream, cutting off the last 4 or 5 seconds of what is oftentimes a high intensity moment. That was totally on them. So I don't know. I'll give them another try.
$20, right? $20. Is that what it is?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a great promise. That's on paper. That sounds great.
Sam M. wrote it and said, Comcast putting Netflix on its cable box may be a smart move for Netflix, but it's not good for cord cutters. Do you think it is a coincidence that this happened within months of Comcast enforcing their data caps? This is just a double down on those data caps. Comcast says, hey, quit complaining. Just watch Netflix on your set-top box and you'll have plenty of data. And don't forget their set-top box can cost more per month than your Netflix subscription.
It's not a bad theory, actually.
Well,
I mean,
it's not a bad theory, except that Netflix usage on your X1 cable box counts against your data cap.
Oh, in which case it's a really bad theory.
So other than
it's a bad theory. It's a bad outside of being patently
except
wrong.
For that tiny, otherwise totally an interesting theory.
Hey man, and one of our friends, Vil, over at cordcutting.com, wrote us saying, hey Brian and Tom, would you guys like to check out our new ebook, How to Watch TV Without Cable? Also, it would be awesome if you would consider giving a testimonial we could post on our site. Yes, here's your testimonial. We absolutely support books about how to watch TV without cable. Congratulations! Here's another one.
If you'd like a book that explains in plain language how to pick great equipment like antennas and set-top boxes, pick up How to Watch TV Without Cable. I'm married. Cordkillers.
Okay, I'll do another one. This book has everything. Chapters, headings, words. What more do you want? Brian Brushwood.
If you'd like a book that's also a Mobi and a PDF, I don't know. No, check it out. Go check it out.
No.
is a great place.
In all seriousness, it's just a little weird to give a blurb to a book that we haven't read yet. But of course, we're looking at it right now on the live stream. Bryce is scrolling through it. Folks over at cordcutting.com are fighting the good fight just like we are, and more players in this market getting the word out is all we want to see. Could not be happier for more literature for you to. This is propaganda for the cause.
Yeah. No, and the more sources, the better. Now, I wrote a 99-cent Kindle book that's just like got the very basics, but they've got other information that I don't have in that book here. So you pick them both up.
So, like, look, Tom wrote the Old Testament. This is the New Testament. Now you can get
as prophesied
both
in my Kindle single. Cordcutting.com has delivered.
Congratulations to our friends over at cordcutting.com, man. I couldn't be happier, and I'm thrilled to see it out there. But more importantly, I want to get so much more Brian Dunaway in my life. How do I do that, Dunaway?
Well, you can go to my website at briandunaway.com or follow me on Twitter at @thebriandunaway.
Excellent. Go do that.
Not me, but someone else out there is thinking, what is it Brian Dunaway does?
That's a really good question. I've been thinking about that this past week. Who am I? And I think I don't know. But I do a Film Sack podcast with Scott Johnson, the guys over at Frog Pants Studios. We enjoy doing that weekly. Also do Comics Coast to Coast, which is another podcast. So if you like podcasts, I do those things.
Right on.
He's some cartoonist, I tell you.
Yeah,
our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll cut your cords again next week.
Only with your consent, though. Hey guys, Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
let's go.
It's up to you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.